Today's hearing is Homeland Security Contracting. Does the Department effectively leverage emerging technologies? We are going to examine the Department of Homeland Security's contract process and whether or not the Department seeks out technologies across its components, the federal government and the private sector, to reduce costs. And I know Patrick Meehan's going to be here. I understand in a few minutes I ask unanimous consent that he be allowed to sit at this hearing today. Hearing no objection, it will be so ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. It's a job of oversight to help reduce the cost of government. With our nation's record debt approaching $15 trillion, we need this now more than ever. One area of the federal government with great potential to reduce this cost to taxpayers is the Department of Homeland Security, and specifically in regard to its acquisition of technology. The Government Accountability Office, or GAO, has identified technology acquisition at DHS as an area of high risk, meaning DHS programs have greater vulnerabilities to waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement. Today, our objective is to examine whether DHS leverages emerging technologies to accomplish its mission. In other words, does it properly evaluate technology that is already available? Or does it needlessly spend millions of taxpayer dollars reinventing the wheel? Unfortunately, we know the Department of Homeland Security has already spent an enormous amount of money developing new technologies, only to find they don't work, or there are off-the-shelf technologies already available that could accomplish the same objectives. And just yesterday, the Washington Post reported that DHS plans to spend more than $300 million on radiation detection equipment that has not been fully tested and may not work. And that's according to the GAO. The Post also cites a DHS budget request from the General Accounting Office. Perhaps the most infamous example of this waste, fraud, and waste and abuse is the Secure Border Initiative, or SBI-Net, initiated in 2006, which was in part designed to be a surveillance system. After expending nearly $1 billion, DHS canceled the program because SBI-Net has had, and this is a quote, has had continued and repeated technical problems, cost overruns, and schedule delays, raising fundamental questions about SBI-Net's ability to meet the needs for technology along the border. Compare SBI-Net to the U.S. Army's Rapid Aerostat Initial Deployment, or RAID system. RAID was initially deployed in Afghanistan in 2003 to protect U.S. forces. It is a combination of towers and aerostats, lightweight, blimp-like aerial vehicles which provide a persistent surveillance system in support of intelligence and reconnaissance needs. We realize the mission of the Department of Homeland Security attempting to secure our borders is different from the Department of Defense. However, it seems to me the basic mission of SBI-Net and RAID are the same, and that's to protect borders and to provide surveillance. And so my question is, did DHS examine RAID before attempting to develop a brand new surveillance system at the tune of $1 billion? And if so, what kept them from using this equipment already developed by our government? And if not, what kept them from discovering it? I've personally been to the border many times to see demonstrations of other forms of DoD surveillance technology that are proven to have worked in Afghanistan and Pakistan. This equipment already exists. The research and development would not be duplicated. It is built at a fraction of the cost, and it's readily available. This could save taxpayers money and secure the border much sooner than the SBI-Net's last predictions. The GAO has also criticized the development of SBI-Net, concluding DHS did not follow their own acquisition directives while developing the program. DHS has not approved key program documents until several years after acquisition had begun, and most importantly, GAO found that operational requirements for SBI-Net were unclear and unverifiable. These types of mistakes cost taxpayers billions of dollars. And there are other examples of DHS, how we could reduce the cost to the taxpayer. The Customs and Border Protection, Transportation Security Administration, and other agencies have purchased an average of $387 million of detection equipment in each of the last 3 years. A March 2011 Inspector General audit found that DHS could save taxpayer dollars and reduce duplication by coordinating and consolidating purchases of metal detectors, explosive detection systems, and radiation detectors for screening people, baggage, and cargo. DHS components are only encouraged but not required to leverage contracts department-wide to increase efficiencies. Additionally, in April 2011, DHS Inspector General audit found that 10 of the 17 or 59% of DHS programs reviewed were acquisitions in which commercially off-the-shelf equipment or existing contracts could have fulfilled the mission requirements. And as a result, administration costs were increased without adding value to the program. One of Secretary Napolitano's top priorities is unifying the Department of Homeland Security and supporting a one DHS policy. But unfortunately, the Secretary and this administration have failed to coordinate and integrate acquisition functions department-wide. This has led to the failure of multiple acquisition programs and the waste of millions of taxpayer dollars. This administration needs to stop investing in high-risk acquisition programs until they can effectively manage and oversee them. We have a recommended solution for DHS to save taxpayer dollars, and that is to follow the guidance provided by the Office of Management and Budget. On February the 11th, 2011, the Office of Management and Budget sent out a memorandum to Chief Acquisition Officers, Senior Procurement Executives, and Chief Information Officers stating, quote, with expenditures of over $500 billion annually on contracts and orders for goods and services, the federal government has an obligation to conduct our procurements in the most effective, responsible, and efficient manner possible. Access to current market information is critical for agency program managers as they define requirements and for contracting officers as they develop acquisition strategies, seek opportunities for small businesses, and negotiate contract terms. Our industry partners are often the best source of this information. So productive interactions between federal agencies and our industry partners should be encouraged to ensure that the government clearly understands the marketplace and can award a contract or order for an effective solution at a reasonable price. We must streamline the DHS contracting process, find technologies that work, and reduce the burden on the taxpayer.